Page number 378. We're continuing with Jiva and Brahman. Now, happily, when it comes into dynamic contact with one who reminds it of its origin, which is the soul, when the soul comes into dynamic contact with one who reminds it of its origin, it begins to cast off the coverings one by one. But since the Jiva possesses motion, it is cognizant of the Creator too, that of Brahman. Thus, the word Jiva carries within it a sense of motion and thinking as well. The two things are parallel in the beings of the Jiva, the thinking and movement. Thus, the function of a Brahman and Jiva is almost the same, with the only difference being the Brahman covers the entire universe, while the Jiva is confined only to the narrow sphere of the ego. In this respect, Brahman may be said to have its own bondage, just as a Jiva has, with the difference perhaps that the bondage of the Jiva is thicker and grosser in comparison to that of Brahman. Limitations they both have. This is about the exact concept of Brahman. We were discussing yesterday. So, Jiva is limited to the sphere of the ego. Brahman is universal. But both have the same function, movement and thinking. In Brahman, there is movement of expansion. In Jiva is normal thinking. In Brahman, it is contemplation. What is contemplation? Contemplation is a thinking which is beyond the level of clarity. Once you have developed clarity, and in the context of it, if you think, it becomes contemplation. That's the difference between the two. So the bondage of the Jiva is thicker and grosser compared to the Brahmana, which is probably thinner and finer. That's all. These are the three differences between the Brahman and the Jiva, but both are in bondage. That's something to remember. So that's why in our system, we don't keep Brahman as our goal. That's not our goal. So going to the universal aspect of existence, universal aspect of consciousness, universal aspect of intelligence, none of it is our goal. Because whether it's individual or universal, they are both bondage only. You have to move beyond both these ideas. Then you can reach the goal. Okay? This is a common question. The difference between Jiva and Brahman. Atman and Brahman. Here Babuji has used the word Jiva. Atman, when it is bound by the body, is called as Jiva. When the Atman takes the physical body, it becomes the Jivatma. So prior to that, the Atman can exist without the physical body also. So then it is not called as Jiva. Then it is just called as Atma. Okay? Any question?
He also mentions Brahman has got limitations.
Repeat it.
He also mentioned that both have limitations.
See, the idea of universality is also a limitation only. Whether it's the idea of the individual or the idea of universality, the difference is in the area, that's all. When we talk about the individual, the ego, we are talking about a small sphere. When you talk about the universal, you are talking about a bigger sphere, that's all. So both are limitation only. One is small, one is big or broad. So when we have to go towards reality, we have to get rid of both the ideas. Only then you can go towards reality. Bharat, any question? Clear? Straightforward, sir. It is straightforward batting. No googly and all. It is straightforward half spin or leg spin. I can easily identify it. It is not one camouflage or the other. That becomes a googly. Now there are so many other spin balls, man. There is a top spin, there is a carom ball. There are multiple balls now. Earlier it used to be only two. So if you play cricket, if you become a leg spinner, you will know all these things. So we'll continue then. Parallelism in nature then. The only thing in existence before creation came into existence was divinity in the original state, and everything in essence form was merged in it. So, what was there before creation? Divinity with all everything else in essence form. The process of manifestation started with the Kshob, which stirred up a churning movement in the sphere of the latent motion. Activity revived, and with it the force got enlivened and started its action towards manifestation. This line of action, though in perfect consonance with divinity, appeared in its outer aspect to be somewhat different from it, since it had taken another course aiming at manifestation. It may for that be denoted as the line of humanity because of its close association with the formation of man. So ಎರಡು ಲೈನ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. From the creation, there are kind of two lines form which runs in parallel with one another. You remember the tuning fork example I gave. So one arm of the tuning fork is the line of humanity, the other arc is the line of divinity. Okay. Now there are two lines. There is one line of divinity, other one line of humanity. Now both the lines are now in action, divinity and humanity running parallel side by side to each other. But since creation was the primary object at the root, the line of humanity began to acquire the predominance and everything, including man, began to assume a tangible form. Though at the subtlest level, at that stage. In other words, the line of humanity became the basis of the entire structure. But its action remained subject to the dormant actions of the line of the divinity, which ran along parallel to it. So the proper working of the force went on, bringing about the force and shapes. So the line of the divinity gave rise to all the forms and shapes. That is the formation of the nature. And the line of the humanity kind of was running parallel to it, and each one was influencing one another. That's what was happening. But at the root of it was the thought of creation. As a matter of fact, humanity could never have worked so well until unless it had proceeded along in conjunction with divinity. In short, humanity set itself conjointly with divinity, running parallel to it. ಇದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? So there is this one line, and suppose from that line there is a manifestation going on. Humanity was formed first, and that creates another line. So you have two lines now. One is the line of the divinity running parallel. Other one is the line of humanity which forms below but running parallel. The humanity influences divinity, divinity influences the humanity. So they both are working in conjunction with one another. That is what has happened. So what you can do is you can just put a dot, draw a straight line. And then slightly from the original dot, just go a bit further and then draw one more line below. That lower line is the line of divinity, the humanity. The upper line is the line of divinity. The upper line gave rise to the nature. All shapes and forms, everything was formed out of the upper line, which is the line of divinity. Human beings created their own line and they started influencing the working of the nature because human beings also derived their power from the Kshob. It is the Kshob which is the reason for the manifestation of the universe. It is also the Kshob which is all manifestation for humanity also. They both are the same. At the base, both are related to the Kshob only. It is the Kshob that then manifests as mind in our human body. So this is important. Just remember these two things. Any question? Bharat has a question, I think. I can feel something.
But apart from human beings, the animals and all, they were the
All
part of
those
this
things were formed by the
divinity.
line of divinity.
It's only in humanity, only human is that, and in divinity, all
Everything
the.
else. Everything else. So
So,
just imagine how much important humanity is for the creation. Everything else is one line. Humanity is one line. They're so important. Bharat will feel happy. Abba, I'm now found. I have taken birth as a human. So important.
but they say, no, I have heard somewhere that when we like when we want this human body, we have to cross some 84,000. They are fake. Okay.
Nothing of that kind. That's why we remember 2, 3 classes back you asked this question: who was created first? And I asked you to read the story of Diti, Aditi. You remember that? So now he's giving a clue to that. Humanity was created first. Then all other life forms came into vogue. And the science has reversed it. In science, we talk about starting from a human, the amoeba form, to the highest, which is the human form. But remember, science has been looking at it from the perspective of creation and dissolution, creation and dissolution. So you can, at any point of time, you can have a mixture of creation and dissolution happening simultaneously. So what Babaji is talking about is that original time of creation, what happened was human line was formed from the base, the Kshobh. Since we were very close to the Kshobh, we inherited that central power within us. Since we inherited that central power within us, like God has the power of creation, we also have the power of creation. You can see how many things we have created to destroy ourselves. It's just a matter of time. So God does not do anything. If He has to destroy humanity, all that He has to do is just allow the human creation to run amok. Then humans will definitely destroy themselves. See, now almost with AI, we are creating one more parallel creation. This is not God's creation, this is our creation, AI, right? So that is why there is a lot of confusion. When we do certain things, who is doing it? Whether we are doing it or the divine is doing it through us. The thing is, since we have inherited the root power in man as a mind, initially whatever we did was in consonance with the divine. Whatever the divine wanted, we did it. That's all. But that is still we started forming samskaras. After we started forming samskaras, we started taking a different course, and divinity started taking its own course. So divinity has not changed the course. It is we who have changed the course. But originally, when we were created, we were in close alignment with the divine. So whatever we were doing was in tune with the divine. Does it make sense? Since we have our own creation. But when we started utilizing our aspect of creation, now how do we actually utilize our aspect of creation? We build a house. We say that we have created this house. But actually, we borrow everything from nature only, from divine creation only. We cannot create anything. We borrow everything from the nature's creation, and then we claim, we put our stamp, this is mine. That's what the people do, no? IT people, copyright, patent. Now, nature will not say that this is a copyright of me, you have to pay me. If that is the case, human beings will always be in debt only. Because everything we borrow from nature only. Even the computer system is actually a system borrowed from nature. Every material in that is actually borrowed from nature. Right? If the nature says you have to give me a royalty fee for the computer system that you have actually started using, then just imagine how much debt will be in. Our entire line of humanity will be in debt only. We have a body, and how do we get the body? We borrow elements from nature. We have a mind. How do we get the mind? Again, we borrow elements from nature. Now you tell me, what is our soul? The soul we have borrowed from the Supreme Soul. The body and mind we have borrowed from the materials of nature. Now you tell me what is yours? This illusion that we have created something, is our own earnings. That is our earnings. And that's why Babuji says that is our property. You have to let go of that property if you want to become in tune with nature or in tune with divinity. Does it make sense? So actually nothing is ours. Creation is not ours. The materials of creation is not ours. The force is not ours. The soul is also not ours. ಗಣೇಶ ಭರತ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಬುಡಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದಿಟ್ರಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಇವತ್ತು ಅಂತ. What is ours then? Only the samskaras that we create, utilizing all these things, is ours. And we claim that that is ours, and we also fight for it. See the illusion? Ganeshan, you want to ask something? You want to say, no, no, this is mine. Ganeshan want to assert something is mine. This fellow is selling the wrong thing.
No, I have the same question what Bharat asked. In Puranas, they say that now we take a birth of animal and everything. So it's not true, is it?
In the line of divinity, you have all those possibilities. In the line of humanity, no. It's direct. However, once the humans are in the line of humanity, based on their karmas, based on their samskaras, they can take form, a birth in any other life form, which is the templates created by nature. Human form is also a template created by nature only. But the human beings are the closest to God, closest to the center. Animal life forms came later on. So, once humans are formed and they form samskaras, they can go back into the animal form or any other life form in the line of divinity. That's why I said it comes later on. Now just imagine this line of divinity is manifesting, and then the human line, the line of humanity is also manifesting. Now where exactly we are in terms of these two lines at any point of time is open for speculation. Now we have come far way down and we are here. So you can clearly see these two forms. But what Babaji is talking about is the origin where we actually started from the line of divinity. So at the root, we are like, if we have to form a separate line, we have to be there at the root to form it parallel. If that is the case, there is no line of humanity at all. There is only one line, line of divinity. That's it. Where is the line of humanity? If you take that perspective, what you are talking about, that everything came from a single cell amoeba, then everything else we gradually evolved into all other life forms. That only indicates a life of line of divinity. There is no line of humanity at all, and that's not what we see. The line of the divinity and the line of humanity is running parallel with one another. That is our experience. So nature creates everything. Human beings use those things and create their own line. Nature has the force of creation. We also have the force of creation. Nature has the freedom of creation. We also have the freedom of creation. So compared to any other life form, human beings is the closest in terms of origin to the center. Okay, because of that only you have two lines. Otherwise, there will be only one line. No, why will you have two lines? You tell me. There will be no parallelism at all in nature. Does it make sense? So why that aspect is not correct? You need to have two lines. If you have two lines only, you can see each one influencing the other. Bharat, you want to say something? Go ahead.
But when this first at the first he says first the line of humanity began, but the humanity to manifest in human form, the physical body is needed. For that, the divine this is needed for to manifest in human.
We go on borrowing the material I told you. At every level, we borrow the material from the divine creation. That's all. Now, when I say human being, we had a form which was very, very pure at the start of our creation. And we say that human beings were created in the form of God Himself. That is what it was. But it's just that we borrowed. The only thing that has happened compared to the line of divinity, what has happened to the line of humanity is that since we inherited the force of the show, we started creating our own thing. But at every level, we started creating our own thing, utilizing the material which was available at that level in the divinity. So somebody is formed, somebody is born in a higher level. Okay, higher loka. In the higher loka, this material form is not there, but still they have other materials, finer materials. So we utilize those finer materials and form our own body there. So till we reach that level where the need for the body itself actually goes down. In other words, where the need for the supreme, what do you say, the need for the covering of the soul itself is not there. So when we say that human beings are born in a separate line, we are born more like what do you say? Uh, I said the soul is also an aspect of the supreme soul only. Even that we have borrowed. But the soul, when it is formed, it is the purest because it's very similar to the supreme soul. But since the soul also inherited that power of creation from the Kshobh, the first covering was formed. What is the first covering? The first covering of the soul is the idea of separation.
Ego.
Idea of separation. So with the idea of separation, the soul got that root force, which is the Kshobh. Now that became the basis for rest of the thing, the journey of the soul. And this soul, where this idea of separation got impregnated, is the one which is the line of humanity. The other things where the idea of separation was not there, it continued to be divine. Where the idea of separation got reinforced, that is the line of humanity. Humanity or human line is the one which has the maximum manifestation of the divinity within, because we are so closer to the center. We have our origin near the center. All other life forms are not conducive for realization because they are not as close to the center. Humanity is the one which is the closest to the center. All other life forms came later on. We are the closest. So divinity is manifest a lot more in human beings than other life forms. So when you compare two life forms, say for example human life and an animal life, then we have to value the human life because human life is far more precious than animal life. That's the reason why you kill the mosquitoes with the mosquito bat. If you say no, 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 that is also having the life form like me only, I'm not going to kill it. Then we say okay, get it bitten by it. So you see that the human beings assert their superiority over all other life forms on earth. And we have managed to destroy every other life form which is a creation of nature. Don't you think we have done a good achievement? We have destroyed everything else. But nature does not allow many things to be destroyed. People have been trying to destroy the line of cockroaches. They have not managed. People have been trying to destroy the line of mosquitoes. They have not managed. Only those lines are destroyed, which is in consonance or in plan or tune with nature. Rest everything is, even though we may try very hard, we are not able to destroy those creations of nature. And we say that in all other life forms, the process of evolution is automatic. Why is that it is automatic? Because nature itself works on in removing the samskaras by bhoga. That is what happens in other life forms. But human being, they have got a freedom to jump all these things and go straight to the center because they are in line with the center. We have a separate line going straight towards the center. So, like our Bharat does not want to get the work done through the line of the clerk, then first division clerk, second division clerk, and then going to the top in a government office. He wants a straight line to the top of the head of the company, the MD of the company. He'll get his work done directly from there only. He doesn't want to go through the structure of the clerk. Now you tell me, which is one that you would prefer? Going directly to the top, or you going through the lower rungs? Which is the one that you would prefer? Anyone would prefer, for that matter.
Directly.
Directly, no? That's exactly what we are capable of. But we don't recognize that. That's why human life is the most precious of all the life forms we have, because we have a direct line to the center, connectivity to center. Okay.
But
Ganesh, you want to ask something?
No, actually.
Bharat then.
I used to think one thing like when human beings intervene with nature. So does nature also think that they have done so much to biology and create floods and all? Is that also its
Karma is created by that only. One of the reasons of samskara formation is when you are actually doing things in tune with nature. Although you are doing things, you are not creating any samskaras. There is no reaction from nature. When you do anything against nature, against the laws of nature, then you create samskaras. This reaction that you get from nature when we go against nature is called as apurva. And apurva becomes the basis for our samskara formation. Apurva is the word that's used in the Upanishad. So, in other words, if we live a life here on earth with a human form that is in total alignment with nature, we will not form any samskaras. For example, Krishna did so many things during his life form, but he was doing everything in consonance with nature, in tune with nature. So he never formed any samskaras. So if at all you want to lead a life which is going to take you straight to the center, you need to learn the art of leading a life which is in tune with the center, nature. And that is what we do when we actually try to grasp and practice 10 maxims. That's the whole point of the 10 maxims. When you lead a life in tune with nature, you are no longer forming samskaras. So there is a easy way out. Now there is no need to, what do you say, isolate ourselves from nature. There is no need to do that. You need to learn the art of being in nature, trying to lead a life in tune with nature, and that itself is liberating for you. It will take you straight to the center. If you lead a life wherever you are, whether you are in forest or you are in a city, that doesn't matter. Wherever you live, if you lead a life which is out of consonance with nature, you are going to be stuck. That's all. Now then, the question is, how do we know the laws of nature? Because if I have to be in tune with nature, I need to know what are the laws of nature, right? And that is where the meditation comes in. Meditation allows you to come under the influence of nature so that the laws of nature takes hold of your heart. Now people try to study shastras, study various scriptures to try to grasp the laws of nature. Now that is the most difficult way of doing it, because when we are in tune with nature, we have to be in tune with nature at all levels, at the physical level, mental level, and spiritual level. At all levels, we have to be in tune with nature. When we study the laws of nature and try to behave accordingly, what happens is that we are able to try to align to the laws of nature at the physical and the mental level, not at the spiritual level. So there, the path is very difficult because you are trying to use the gross to relate to the subtle, to make the subtle in tune with nature. That is not ever going to happen. That's why people used to say that liberation is a many lifetime affair, because the path itself was wrong. We were using the grosser level of our existence to become in tune with nature at the subtler level. And we always used to kind of meet with failure. Okay. Now, Babaji says don't do that. You focus on the subtler level of your existence. If you become in tune with nature at that level, then at the physical and mental level, it happens automatically. That is the easier way. So difference between the sadhana chatushtaya and ashtanga yoga versus Sahaj Marg is this. In Sahaj Marg, we focus on the heart, which is the subtlest of the organ that we have got. And while focusing on the heart, we actually come under the influence of nature at the subtlest level. Now, once we start setting that right, then the things which are at the grosser level, which is the mind and the body, will in due course of time also start getting subtler and in tune with nature. Because the causal body drives the subtle body drives the physical body. That's how it is. So if you set the causal body right, then the subtle body and the physical body will automatically set right in due course of time. Does it make sense? What we do in our spiritual sadhana? And that is the reason why we save a lot of time. In sadhana chatushtaya, we start at the Shat Sampatti, the Shama, as the starting point in Sahajma. In Ashtanga Yoga, we start at the seventh point, which is meditation. We bypass all the first 6 points. Likewise, in Sadhana Chatushtaya, we bypass the first 2 points, the Viveka Vairagya, and start with Shama. And one of the Abhyasis were saying yesterday that they feel that the senses are now coming under more natural state, its original state. Gradually, it is moving towards its original state. And then the discussion was that if the senses has to go back to gradual original state, it just indicates that the amount of samskaras in the mind have been substantially cleaned in the heart. Only when the samskaras are cleaned to a substantial level, then the senses will start getting purified. So senses do not get purified so easily. Each of the senses have their own life. You see something and previously you were attracted and now you are also attracted again. You saw the movie so and so, next time they put it on the OTT, you will again sit and watch it. Right? That is because you have actually created a pattern. And then next time it will be easy to pull you there. That is what happens. And this is the pull of the sense. Upanishad, what it says is all the senses are nothing but the projections of the mind, outposts of the mind. So when we go on filling samskaras in the mind, the samskaras gradually go and fill the outpost also, which is the samskaras, which is the senses. The senses also get filled up with samskaras. Now, even if you clean some of the samskaras at the level of the mind and the heart, we still have samskaras at the level of the senses. They pull you towards the action. So only when the substantial amount of cleaning has occurred at the mind and the heart level, these samskaras which are there at the level of the senses now start coming back to the mind and the heart. It will come back. Like we say that in nature, everything has to go back to its origin, where it came from. So the samskaras at the senses level came from the level of the mind. It has to go back to the mind only. Then when that also is now cleaned, then we can say that the senses are now in the natural pure state, original state that we were created in. See, for example, when the taste goes back to its natural state, you will not have any strong likes and dislikes. Right? You will not be aligned to strong likes and dislikes relating to food. Whatever food is given, you will eat it. If you are aligned to the strong likes and dislikes, if they cook anything, the comment will be that why did you cook this thing? You should have cooked this thing. Can you see? Our expectation that this should have been cooked is driven by the senses. When the senses are purified, because the likes and dislikes have come down because of the cleaning, and the senses also get purified, the tongue gets purified. When the tongue gets purified, what happens is that you are going to see that the likes and dislikes is no longer the thing. The taste is not the primary criteria. You have to eat food for survival, and that becomes the primary criteria for eating food, not the taste. Does it make sense? I'm just giving you a very simple example. So that when people cook food at home, you don't make comment. You should have done this, you should have done that. That is primarily driven by your senses. Okay. Shall we finish this page? We'll finish this page and then we go to the next. At least 2 pages. That itself is a big achievement.
1 minute. This.
1 minute. We'll finish this paragraph and then. The action went on multiplying, and man, along with everything else, began to assume a grosser and grosser form because we were subject to the actions of the nature. Everything in the composition of man falls under the class of humanity, with divinity at the root of all and everything. It is for this reason that they say that God is within man, and the same he is held by almost all religions. Thus, our ultimate purpose can be served only when we keep pace with the divinity and link it up with our line of humanity. That is what we are trying to do. That's why the 10 maxims. Okay, now go ahead.
So when the creation started from here, so this was a line of divinity, and this was a line of humanity. So when this started, so the here nearer or the closer, and can we say that as it went on, the both became grosser and grosser. The humanity is got far. It became grosser and grosser, and divinity.
As and when human beings became grosser, they also started polluting nature. Whatever thoughts we think, that actually leaves an imprint in the atmosphere also. We have read that in the heartfulness way. So not only we became corrupted, we became impure, we started making the entire nature also impure. So many of the things that you see in terms of the volcanoes, the earthquakes, huge amount of rainfalls, all these things are a mechanism by nature to purify itself of the unnecessary things that we humans have thrown. Originally, the nature was pure in itself. There's no contamination in nature at all. Who are the primary source of contamination? We humans are the primary source of contamination. We not only utilize everything from nature, we also contaminate everything in nature. See, now we are not happy with having destroyed the earth, contaminated the earth. We want to go and destroy moon also. We want to go and destroy Mars also. And we want to build a pipeline from moon to earth. See what we are doing. Earth was created for human beings in such a way that they can be self-sufficient. Everything, whatever is necessary for human life, is there already on Earth. Why do you want to build a pipeline from moon? See, that is what we have done. We have polluted everything. Now we have started polluting space also. You go up and see what is happening in the space where they leave the satellite. What has happened to all the old satellites? They are just revolving down there only. The space junk is so much that you don't have space to actually launch the satellite now. And there are now new companies which are coming up, and their job is to remove the space junk. Not only we have polluted the space here, we also polluted the space up there also. ನಾವು ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಡಂಗೂರ ಸಾರ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. We are beating the drums loud to show that we human beings exist on this earth. And they don't need to hear the drum sound at all. The presence of the debris there itself is sufficient to say, oh, some corrupt fellow should be there here on earth. ಸರಿ. ಈಗ ಭರತ್ ಎಚ್ಚರ ಆಯಿತು. ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳು?